the difference between a New World wine and an Old World wine? Well, it's sort of simple in one way, in that Old World wines come from Europe. They're the original winemakers, the original vineyards, the OGs, if you will. And that's sort of how wine and vineyards got started, was in Europe. So that's sort of Old World. Whereas New World, it's kind of everywhere else, right? They found what Europe was doing. They took their winemaking practices, their vineyard practices, and found different areas in the world to make wine. So North America, South America, anywhere in Oceania, all these areas are really New World wines. And when you talk about just the differences in styles, most European wines are going to be in the Old World style, a little bit more terroir driven, right? A little bit more minerality. A lot of times the climate's a little bit cooler, but they're not quite as maybe rich and bold and fruit concentrated as New World wines would be. So today we're going to taste 3 different Pinot Noirs. We have a New World, we have a Old World, and we have sort of a combination of the two. We're going to start in the Old World. We're going to start in Burgundy. So in Burgundy, this is Volnay, which is a region, and that's another big difference in Old World versus New World. Old World in Europe, they're just going to tell you the region. They're not going to talk about the grape. They'll expect you to know what that is, and in Burgundy, it's Pinot Noir. So this is a Domaine Rossignol Février. This is a Vieilles Vignes, which means old vine grapes. And this is a 2018 vintage. And one thing about Old World Pinot is, well, Pinot in general, sort of a light, thin-skinned grape. So color can be beautiful and can be really pretty, but it's never going to be all that dark or deep and rich in color. Sort of a lighter colored wine. And it's a finicky grape. It can really only grow in cooler climates. If it's too warm, it doesn't work. It doesn't bring out all those nuances. So Volnay, Old World Pinot, the first waft here of on the nose is kind of earthy undertones. There's a little forest floor. The fruit's certainly there, right? There's some really nice, some baked cherry, some cranberry, a little bit of pomegranate nose. Not a lot of notable oak, right? And that's going to be another difference. Most New World wines aren't using a lot of new oak. They'll use oak, and they use some new oak, but very different in the New World fashion. It smells fantastic, by the way. So, yeah, this wine is really well balanced. Acidity, A+, really searing, mouth-watering acidity. Some really nice kind of well-developed red fruits, red cherries, some strawberry, some raspberry, some of that pomegranate comes through. But this is a terroir-driven wine. There's a lot of minerality. There's a lot of earthy notes. There's some tobacco. There's some of that sort of like forest floor going on. And it's a lighter style wine, right? It's a lighter style Pinot, and that's what Burgundy is all about, is that kind of style. And an ageable wine. These wines can develop and gain complexity and gain balance over years, decades, especially Burgundy wine. So that's Old World. New World, California. This is the Hilt. This is their estate Pinot Noir from Santa Rita Hills. This is the winemakers from Screaming Eagle. This is one of their ventures here, and these wines are, I don't want to say the opposite, but way more fruit-driven than the Burgundy wine. So these are both 2018s. So you can see the color differential here. I mean, there's a lot more ruby color as opposed to maybe a little garnet here on this Burgundy. And if you swirl, you can kind of get a better glimpse of that. More extraction, warmer climates brings out more fruit, and more skin contact will bring out these deeper colors in these wines. And it's fruit first. You put your nose in here, the first thing that comes out is really bright cherry, as opposed to maybe a little bit more aged or kind of a baked cherry. Black pepper spice. Still a mineral note to it. There's some earthiness, there's some California terroir, but there's also some like clove, which is usually a sign of new oak, which they certainly put on this wine. Still very pretty though, but just a little bit more intense on that ripe, fresh fruit. So this is expansive. Tannins. We didn't get into too many tannins on the Old World wine because they're a little bit more subdued, again, due to the climate. This has got richer, riper tannins. They're firm, they're notable. The acidity is still there, not quite as high as on the Volnay, but that acidity and tannin kind of balance bring this wine together. Really long finish. Again, a fruit core, a concentrated fruit core, is really what drives this wine home. Really long finish, still going. So that's New World. So then you have an area that's sort of both. It's New World, it's Oregon, right, in the U.S. So it's a New World area, but they're trying to make that Burgundy style of wine. This is the Willamette Valley. This is Alexana, and this is their terroir series, right? So even in the name, they're trying to make it terroir based as part of their plan with this series. So color, again, it's still pretty warm. So you still have a little bit closer to that ruby than the garnet. It's a little bit newer, a little bit younger of a wine too. So this has a really nice balance right off the nose. Again, Pinots you're almost always going to get some like bright red cherry. You're going to get some raspberry, some cranberry notes, strawberry. So there's more strawberry on this nose than on the others. Still a little bit of that black pepper spice, but you can get some of that earthy undertone in tobacco and some of those more kind of rustic undertones on this wine, more notable than on the hill. So it feels like it's a combo somewhere between that New World and Old World feel. Yeah, Oregon's, it's cooler. It's cooler than California. So you're going to have a more elegant wine, more delicate wine. It's certainly not lacking in fruit. Not as much of the new oak, leaning towards that sort of Old World aging that they'll do on their wines. But again, really long finish on this wine. I mean, this is going on forever. And these are all great food wines. One of the best things about Pinot across the board is food pairings, right? Duck and Pinot, fantastic. Roasted chicken, even heartier fish, seared tuna, salmon, really good tuna options. It's a versatile wine. It really likes cool climates, and you can really tell the variation of styles based on Burgundy, California, Oregon, bringing out the different New World and Old World features here. So, cheers. Enjoy.